And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking Red Bull not being happy, in particular their star driver, 4 times world champion-elect, Max Verstappen. Yeah, let's have a look, shall we? We're talking about a grid penalty for Max, potentially, or very likely, according to reports, for the Belgian Grand Prix. That could set Mr. Verstappen back a bit. And also, he's just angry in general. We talk about the Hungarian Grand Prix and how he wasn't particularly happy. Maybe, was it because of his sim racing? Wasn't it because of his sim racing? He suggested not. Horner suggested not. But, apparently, no more sim racing for Max Verstappen. As in, late sim racing. They're still going to let him do the sim racing, but kind of the late sim racing. But let's talk about first the grid penalty for Max. And he's braced for a 3rd consecutive Spa grid drop. That's a 3rd year in a row. So he's set for a 10-place grid penalty at this weekend's Belgian Grand Prix for exceeding his engine allowance. Now, Verstappen has been on the cusp of a penalty for a while, pretty much since that practice session in June for Canadians Grand Prix, and that meant Red Bull is going to have to introduce a 4th Honda power unit, which they did in Spain. It kind of forced them. The maximum number allowed per year is 4. So Red Bull therefore has been braced for a grid penalty for some time. Now, they picked strategically this weekend's Belgian Grand Prix, where the Red Bull has gone very well in the past, and also quite significantly, unlike Hungary, you can pass. Overtaking is less difficult than in most venues. You've obviously got the Camel Straight after Eau Rouge into Le Combe. Really long straight. DRS, thank you very much. And let's not forget that in 2022, Max won the race from 14th on the grid as one of 8 drivers at the time to take an engine place related drops. Yeah, screw qualifying. I mean, that's a real head scratcher, isn't it? After Q3. But it's unlikely Verstappen will have such a straightforward romp this time, with Red Bull supposedly having been caught by McLaren and Mercedes. I say supposedly, you never know, they may have some go faster bits in Belgium, but if Hungary's anything to go by, it's not going to be as easy as 2022 was. And McLaren took a 1-2 victory, as we know, in last weekend's Hungarian Grand Prix, and teammate Sergio Perez is in the same boat as Verstappen, but he's already taken a 5th power unit at the British Grand Prix when he had, let's be fair, an absolutely disastrous qualifying. Verstappen is also currently on his final turbocharger battery, control electronics, electric motors, meaning he will start far down the grid, possibly in Germany, Italy, France even, you name the country, because that is going to be some hefty penalty. But Red Bull is set to revert the specification of its RB20 after introducing what was a barrage of upgrades in Budapest, as Spa is placing much higher emphasis on aerodynamic efficiency rather than out-and-out downforce generation, which Hungary likes. Remember, they used to call it Monaco without the barriers, and it was a big effort, Christian Horner said, to bring this upgrade for this race. I think we've got more performance to bring from them, and there are some positives from that. But he said the car is in a different specification this weekend. So let's talk about Max Verstappen being an angry Max. He's really angry, according to Helmut Marko, as he addresses any Red Bull exit speculation. Yeah, Helmut Marko admitted that Max Verstappen was really angry at the Hungarian Grand Prix and said that Red Bull's task, apparently, is to improve the car, so he's no reason to think about changing teams. Now, Verstappen finished fifth to go 3 consecutive races, shock horror, without a victory for the first time since, funnily enough, the tail end of the 2021 season. With the 3-time world champion having aired his frustrations, as we all probably heard if we were watching that race in Hungary. Now, Verstappen admitted after the race that he felt frustrated by the strategy selection of his team and by how the RB20 felt to drive through the Hungarian Grand Prix. So he felt like most of the drivers did in 2022 and 2023. But regrettably, he collided with Lewis. Now, whilst Verstappen has defiantly said to his critics that they could all F off, yep, there are 3 extra letters to that, after a late night sim session the night before the race, he still holds a healthy 76-point championship lead. And Marko acknowledged the Dutch driver was not in the best of mood, exclaiming, Max is really angry. Fairly obvious, but yeah, that's what he told F1 Insider in the wake of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, we now have to make sure that his mood improves again, says Marko. Our car has to improve again. Unfortunately, the updates didn't work the way we wanted them to. I mean, you need to keep your driver happy, but I can't help but feeling that Red Bull are like, oh no, eggshells, Max must keep happy. I get it. They don't want him to leave for Mercedes. I don't think he's going to leave for Mercedes for next year because he knows Red Bull arguably is their best chance. Now, something controversial, and I've always said, if he does go to Mercedes, more than likely he's going to have George Russell as a teammate. Now, George Russell knows the team, and although you can make a very good argument that Max Verstappen is the better driver, with George Russell knowing the team being a slight advantage, knowing the car, I don't know if I'd bet the house on Max Verstappen, maybe a few quid. So no more sim racing for Mr. Verstappen. Yeah, Helmut Marko, he revealed after the Hungarian Grand Prix that both him, Red Bull and Max Verstappen, they have agreed that he will not drive sim racing events so late at night in future. Now, after a stint before the Hungarian Grand Prix that took him past 3 a.m. the night before the race, the Red Bull senior advisor clarified that what happened was Verstappen ended up filling in for a driver on his team as he was unable to take part in the 24 hours race, but that he and the team had agreed that he will not race so late in the future, the night before a race. Now, Marko remained defensive of his driver after he had drawn criticism from some quarters for taking part in the event, taking in a night stint before the Hungarian Grand Prix, the following day. But the Red Bull advisor called it rubbish to suggest that he had not enough sleep before the race as required, but he did admit the reigning world champion was rather thin-skinned in his handling of the race on Sunday, and possibly talking to his engineer and, well, angrily trying to pass Lewis Hamilton, maybe? Yeah. But Marko again referenced the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix earlier in the season, which Max Verstappen took part in the Nürburgring sim event late at night and went on to win the race. However, you can make an argument that, yes, Norris did run him close to the end, but he had a much easier time of it. But he did say, Helmut Marko said Max Verstappen was rather thin-skinned this weekend, and of course it didn't take long for criticism to arise. No wonder, given that he spends half the night playing sim racing, Marko wrote in a post-Hungary column for Speedweek. Yes, indeed. But the questions we have over Mr. Max Verstappen, though, is what is going to happen to him come Hungary. Now, as we know, he failed to keep his cool from various reasons in Hungary, and the argument is it may well have cost him a podium. Is he going to do better at Spa? And Red Bull are considering that engine change, so he is going to have to race. He's got no shortage of rivals lining up to capitalise that. With Max Verstappen starting near the back, it will be a lot harder for him to win, albeit not impossible. Red Bull do always go well in Spa. But none of them have managed to win more than one race yet, something that surely has to change soon, unless Sergio Perez steps up his game and wins the Belgian Grand Prix. But is Max Verstappen now feeling the heat? We are just past the halfway point of the season, and where Max was once running away from the championship, he's not so much now. He does have a substantial lead, and he is going to be very consistent. That Red Bull is fairly reliable, touch wood, but so are all the other cars. So the big question is, with potentially the pressure on because of this engine change, will this continuation, and will we have a continuation of what some has described as belligerence on the track, or are we going to see prime Max and absolutely go maximum attack, pun included, and win the Belgian Grand Prix, or at the very least get a podium? Either, I think, will be really amazing, but I think because of that reason, we're not going to be in for a boring Grand Prix, are we? Definitely not going to be in for a boring Grand Prix. Can't wait. If you made it to the end, give us a subscribe. That would be great. If you're not subscribed, for more Formula 1 news, we do a bit of gaming. We talk rally. We talk touring cars. We talk a bit of F1 history as well. That will be great. If you want to like and comment, if you do one of them, you are a world champion in our eyes. If you do both, you are a multiple world champion in our eyes. And we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.